Oh, you guys are ready. Okay, cool. Okay, so we're going to do not financial advice, pushing ordinals to the limit. We've got Peter Giammanco, CTO of Liquidium. Holler Liquidium. I love Liquidium more than anything. Diekroeger from DZ.io, also pretty much an ordinals amazing OG builder. And Bunzy is going to be moderating. Yay, Bunzy from Omnisats. Give it up to these guys. Okay. Oh. Here. Hold on. Sorry, guys.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Go there for you. And there for you.
Testy.
There for you. Okay.
All right. Thanks for the introduction. We'll kind of run through, but as you can tell, we'll be talking about DeFi. This is not financial advice, but look around. DeFi and Bitcoin, you're early. No one gives a fuck, but this is about to change. I strongly believe in it, and I think there's multiple reasons why, and we'll go through that today. We kind of just want to go down the list here, and we'll start with you, Peter. Who's Peter, and what do you do with Bitcoin?
What's up, everybody? My name is Peter Giammanco, and I'm working on Liquidium right now as the CTO. I just want to say how awesome it is that we get to be here in these beautiful cities so often and see all our awesome internet friends all the time. So great to be here with you guys.
Yeah, and what's Liquidium, real quick?
Yeah, so Liquidium is an ordinal borrowing and lending solution. So it's peer-to-peer, and we connect borrowers and lenders to take out loans for the ordinals as collateral.
Amazing. Let's go.
Hey, everyone. I'm Danny from DZ. My background is a Bitcoin software engineer, and in January dove headfirst into ordinals. Launched a small collection called the Asheville Babes, and most notably, we were the tech partner for the Bitcoin Frogs. So Ribbit. And since then, we've done a lot of experiments, and lately have been focused on sat hunting, which we can talk about later. That's sort of my background.
And Robert.
Cool. Hey guys, I'm Robert Clark, co-founder of Ordinals Market, and also started BitcoinPunks.com back in February. Nice to be here.
Nice. So, not financial advice. So get your wallet out. Let's start investing in some stuff, guys. No, but I do think the rare sats is an interesting topic as we move into tokenizing fungible tokens on Bitcoin. I think with BRC20, Rune's coming about, but rare sats is kind of a fungible token embedded natively in Bitcoin. There's only X amount of certain ones. There's emissions of them with new blocks that come in. But I just want to start off, this is maybe for you, Danny, of what do you think about rare sats being a fungible token and more than just something to inscribe on?
Yeah, it's super interesting for collectors, given that Ordinals introduced the concept of every Satoshi having a number. Part of what Casey proposed as well is that certain numbers are desirable based on historical events, the first sats in existence, or the first sat of every block. And we've seen that really come to life, which has been really fun. There's been demand from, the first thing is as a canvas. As an artist, you can paint on, cardboard, or you can paint on something super nice. I'm not an artist, so I don't know the materials that most people really use, but
most people do it on cardboard. You're right.
And so getting a desirable sat that has some type of history it's harder to acquire, and then it gives credibility and gives more power to the art that you put on it. So that's kind of the first thing, and then you just have collectors that want to get a rare sat or whatever. And so the nice thing about these is it's a very open playing field with very transparent numbers. So we know the circulation of each of the different qualities or types of sats. Of course, people come along and try to introduce, how about the middle sat of every block or whatever. But everything is very numerical, and you can verify the supply of anything you're trying to collect. And so, it's kind of a fun space, and I'm excited to see how it's going to evolve.
Yeah, I know, Robert, you've been sat hunting. You've hit a few jackpots, and what's interesting about it too is the distribution of these tokens, which for proper tokenomics, distribution's essential. So these tokens exist in some dead wallets, some centralized exchanges, and sat hunting is essentially, I'll let you describe what sat hunting is.
Oh, sat hunting. Yeah, so Danny here's the master, as a lot of you know. But sat hunting, the idea is like all of these rare sats, a lot of them are in circulation already. So I think, Block 9, pizza sats, the pizza sats, for those that don't know, are, the sats that were used to buy like a Bitcoin pizza, 10,000 Bitcoin. So they're just kind of all floating around. They were used to buy a pizza way back in the day. And now they're just kind of out in the world for anyone to collect. So sat panning is basically like moving around Bitcoin, sending it to Coinbase or whatever other exchange, receiving that Bitcoin back, and then, kind of taking out anything that may be rare, right? Say it's a pizza sat, block 9, uncommons, they're all just floating around for the most part. As you noted, Bunzy, like the distribution's really fair for these things because this wasn't really a meta up till now, right?
Yeah, it's like the Bitcoin frog. It's like a free mint. The community gets around it, and distribution is essential. So that's why I'm super bullish on rare sats as a fungible token, and they immediately have utility. So artists are using them as a canvas, like you said. I don't know what's next. Something cool is going to happen. But I kind of want to switch this now into like Bitcoin has the highest market cap, the best global branding. You can walk up to someone and be like, hey, do you know what Arbitrum is? They're like, dude, what'd you just do to your arm? But everyone knows what Bitcoin is, and there's the deepest liquidity. So, Peter, what do you think like the next steps for DeFi are on Bitcoin?
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of new developments over the next couple of months, even just because, as more people come, we're going to start to move even faster. Liquidium has been one of the first DeFi platforms on Bitcoin, allowing you to borrow and lend with your ordinals. But yeah, I think we have a lot of exciting things coming, not even just in the ordinal space, also like BitVM. I know they just got an 8-bit CPU working, so a lot of new improvements are coming, and we'll see what things from other chains move to Bitcoin and what that brings in the future.
Yeah, what's crazy is Ordinals at large has like 250K unique users. Like EVMs, like Ethereum, have 400K daily unique users. Daily. So Ordinals has been around roughly a year almost. Probably around that actually now. And it's crazy to think that we're at 250K unique users daily on things like decentralized exchanges. We're getting 400,000. It's just nuts to think about. So with like DeFi stepping up, and I know, Rob, I kind of want to throw this to you, is like hosting a marketplace, seeing the fees and everything and all the transaction volume. Where do you see in like DeFi being a clear play for people here?
Oh, DeFi is an interesting one. So Ordinals market, we're very much focused on collectibles right now. So things that already have inscriptions on them. But I know this is a bit controversial, but I do see a lot of the action going like maybe L2, right? Like the inherent limit that we have on block size on Bitcoin does make it quite tricky to move like really fast for BTC like trades, whether that be for pizza sats or fungies. Every asset, like it's quite challenging to trade on the L1 experience. So very optimistic on and seeing like we've got a massive inflow of development, right? Like with Ordinals now, like Bitcoin is now front and center. You got a lot of drama on Twitter, like all the sort of core Bitcoin devs are now fighting again, like very openly. So I think that's ultimately a good thing for like bringing attention here, and hopefully that drives more activity to like bring some L2 solutions to make things just faster and better on BTC.
Yeah, I mean, the L2 discussion is interesting. I mean, my thesis is this, like for DeFi and yield and some of these primitives to really take off, you need deep liquidity to like unlock its superpower. Like on Ethereum, you started seeing a lot of liquidity getting siloed to like Arbitrum, Optimism. Therefore, if there's not deep liquidity, the LP providers aren't getting the highest yield that they can get, and it's not really unlocking that, that true superpower, more or less, like I said. But with layer 1 Bitcoin, highest market cap, most users, like that's significant. And if I can provide, an LP against a fungible token on Bitcoin, there's a lot of upside there. So, I mean, Liquidium, that's a brilliant way too. Because if you're not using your assets and they're just sitting there, that's not a healthy market. We need tokens moving. Fees are actually a good thing to signal, like a healthy market and ecosystem. Fees are high, but the L2 solution is there. But I kind of want to hear from you, Peter, like at Liquidium, what kind of activity are you seeing now, and like what do you know? No one has a crystal ball, but what are you kind of forecasting for more people tapping into the DeFi world?
Yeah, for sure. So we've seen we only launched like 2 months ago, and we started to pick up our traction a lot recently. And it seems like with Ordinals, people really love the fact that it is all on Bitcoin, that it is on layer one, and really that kind of is one of the biggest points that distinguishes it from everything else, every other type of NFT, digital artifacts. So I think people really want to be on layer one. I think long term, we might look back and be like, wow, we were blessed to be on layer one. Like if Bitcoin is to get global adoption, that's kind of how it might be, unless we find, more scaling solutions for layer one. But yeah, I think that it's just going to continue to find interest on layer one for the time being until we reach maybe a max of it's too much.
I think like we don't have a scalability problem yet. I know fees, but to be honest, that's appropriate when you're moving assets. Like there's a fee attached because you're inheriting the decentralization, all the characteristics, and permissionlessness. You're getting that. So high fees is a healthy thing. Scalability, yes. But the sacrifice of it on the DeFi side is siloing different liquidity, like I mentioned before. But another big topic I want to discuss is like the ETFs that are starting to clear and what that's doing to the market on the speculative side. But then actually once these big chunks of money hit and we're seeing God candles, whoever wants to take that, ETF's the top.
Yeah, definitely happy to start there. I think like the ETF brings certainly a bull case for Bitcoin, right? Like I think a lot of people are expecting Bitcoin to rise in value, right? Whether it does or it doesn't, it has risen recently, and it's been really interesting to watch assets that trade natively on Bitcoin appreciate not only in USD values but also in their nominal Bitcoin prices.
Yeah, it's trippy with with like your guys' side when it's like Bitcoin and USD. You're like it's still 0.1 Bitcoin, but how much? And it's like because we typically see that the impermanent loss side, but when things are up, that permanent gain, I guess you could call it. But yeah, it's super cool to see that. Yeah. Anyone else have thoughts on ETFs?
I just feel like we're in a good position, having kind of flushed everything out over the last year, 2 years with the bear market, and just Bitcoin in general is in a favorable spot with government spending way too much money, a lot of uncertainty around the world, and the holders are just like, yeah, we know it's sort of checkmate, and could be exciting, but yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, just remember how blessed we are to have beat them.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's like why I participated in this is like, everyone has a chance now. Not big money, but yeah. I think the next biggest thing that I have my eyes on is the halvening. And what that means, less Bitcoin, less emission, Ordinal, all the maxis right now are pissed. They're like, what is this graffiti on our beautiful token? But after the halvening, we need these transaction fees or these miners aren't going to, remain profitable and the system won't be as decentralized. So the halvening on the financial side, where do you see it leading up? The last 3 have proven to 2x before. What do you think this time? Different? Same?
Same.
Same.
Yeah. Who knows? I think it's usually the same, but I felt like things tend to happen earlier each cycle as people sort of try to predict what's going to happen, but I have no idea.
Yeah, it's interesting how you have these two big events kind of coinciding, right, for next year. Everyone has their eyes on this. You've got, the halvening, so you've got all this sell pressure from miners getting chopped in half. And then, theoretically you have, institutions and other funds that are now able to sort of safely, or hopefully soon will be able to buy Bitcoin using an ETF. So you kind of have these things both happening sort of, like early next year. So interesting collision of events.
Yeah, agreed. It's kind of like that perfect storm, which is, yeah. Specifically, what's interesting is the miners and people getting upset, and for Bitcoin to 20 years from now to remain sustainable and decentralized is we need high volume. People need to start using Bitcoin, not for coffee, not for weird yes, but yeah, you get what I'm saying. There's but I guess all of us up here are building, right? And what I'm curious about is why it took, what Ordinals did to unlock that, and what it's like, because it's like working with rocks and chisels again. Like on EVMs, we were getting quite spoiled. Data was readily available. Now we're working with indexers. Some of them Unisat's now indexing the mempool really well. Best in Slot's starting to get up there. Oil's doing amazing stuff with indexing. Just curious of what is it like building on Bitcoin right now?
It's tough, that's for sure. But all this new excitement hopefully will bring so many more quality developers and quality people to the space. And that's what we're seeing a lot of now. For example, we were building on stacks before, not Bitcoin at all. And then Ordinals came out. We were like, oh my God, we got to switch over here. So hopefully we just see a lot more people coming through that same path, just come into Bitcoin because of all this interest on layer one.
Yeah, so just to jump in there, I think you highlighted a really interesting one, which is the mempool, right? It's sort of a feature and a bug of Bitcoin that we have long and slow block times, which for trading ordinals in a responsive way, is a challenge, right? So I think right now all eyes are kind of on the mempool and how do we make that better? How do we bring a more performance experience to users of all of the sort of quote unquote Web3 of BTC?
Yeah, the deep end of the mempool. It's been really struggle. I'm trying to swim through that thing and they're just not clearing my low sats, and I'm bummed. I miss the Femojis, but fuck. All right, what do you got?
Yeah, going off what Robert said, I mean, I've always loved developing on Bitcoin. It's been several years now, and the fact that now there's a big excuse to continue doing that, just working with UTXOs and chopping them up to split out sats, and there's all types of great tools that have been built for the Bitcoin ecosystem, but the Ordinals world needs to learn about them. Things like replace by fee for transactions that are stuck, or child pays for parent. There are lots of great tools, but none of them are really integrated into these Ordinals wallets. And you just kind of have this learning process that needs to happen of how do we go from Ethereum and Solana, where it's this account model, which is a very different way to do a chain, to Bitcoin, which uses this UTXO model. Totally different way to think, but people have been building on it and doing cool stuff. So I think it's just going to take time for people to learn. And it's fun. I think people like that. They like new territory and having to figure out something new.
Yeah, I think it's difficult, but for a good reason. I mean, it's, when you build on Bitcoin, you inherit all the characteristics of it. It's permission, all the security, everything. So, all these assets are etched in gold, essentially. What's super, hot topic is this man, Jason, living on all these ordinals. But what do you guys think of JSON and, these meta protocols, and what are your thoughts just at that?
Well, it's easy to look at something like BRC20 and these JSON-based protocols and just be like, disgusting.
What? You don't like JSON?
I love JSON. But I think what they nailed with some of these is the ease of understanding and the ease of use. When you looked at that BRC20 doc, you could read it in 2 minutes and you knew, okay, this is how I mint something and this is how I send it. And, armchair quarterbacks will sit back and be like, it wasn't designed properly and it's using the account model. And
I do that. Good point.
I do some of that too, but the fact is it's super easy to onboard. And so finding that balance of ease of use versus something that's, more tech that gets the nerds excited, like something like Taproot Assets, is you have to find the balance with ease of use and understanding.
No, you're totally right. And that's where tech guru and over engineering things is totally a thing. And the market will decide. Look at Ordi, look at the volume, look what's happening. People like fungible tokens and no one can stop that. So like that's our thesis at Omnisat is, allowing people not just to hold these tokens, but to use them. You need to like, if you're just holding a token, you're not really unlocking it. You're not, collateralizing it. You're not putting it to work. And when you can put these fungible tokens to work for you, now you've unlocked DeFi. Now you're like, oh my gosh, you can generate yield just by providing LP for 2 tokens. That's a really, huge thing for anyone, a decentralized exchange, not having to, get FTX'd or like a centralized exchange. Get your Bitcoin off of centralized exchanges, basically. That's also definitely do that part.
Financial advice.
That's financial advice. But yeah, guys, I'd love just to, hear any thoughts or touch back on any topics, or if you guys have any ideas of, something you want to discuss, let's hit it.
On the BRC20 topic, just remember, you're not smarter than the market. The market decides. So if the most people want that to be the solution, that might be the solution.
Yeah, I think my overall thoughts are that Bitcoin it's a very limited block space, limited transaction throughput, and I think it's going to trend towards like fewer but higher value things rather than a revolving door of new things. And I think the revolving door of new things might happen on other layers or other chains, but I'm really excited to watch this over time and have people look back and what are the high luxury, collectibles or luxury items that people like on Bitcoin.
It's frogs and Jasons all over.
Not financial advice.
It's beautiful. I mean, the first crypto dick butt, number 1. That's literally our caveman inscription. And people wonder why we want to trade fungible tokens. This is what we do. You can't give us nice things.
Yeah, absolutely. Like +1 to Danny's comment there on like really high value stuff, like really sort of like interesting one of ones. Definitely a good take there. I'd say like, obviously the excitement's been really good in the last week for those in the Bitcoin ordinal space. I just, not financial advice, but definitely be cautious when dealing with, anonymous founders that want to take your Bitcoin for a mint. It seems exciting on Twitter, like there's a lot of hype, but just encourage caution, right? The free mints are usually like, from a trader standpoint, some really good returns. I think some of the best projects in the space are open free mints. So definitely, stay cautious, have fun. I think we all are, but be cautious.
Yeah, just degen super heavy, max mint every time. No, I guess another cool topic to discuss is, we've gone through the motions of Bitcoin library, working with PSBTs and going through that learning curve. One library that I found was the TapScript library that helped me a bunch with that. It's like TypeScript and it's for the Bitcoin library. It's amazing. But for builders that are working on a project, if you guys could give them one piece, a tool or something that they could utilize right away, what would that be?
This actually might be some alpha. I have a friend of mine in the space who's been building something called BitScript, and it's kind of like a course that you can take to learn Bitcoin development. It comes with some cool diagrams showing like exactly what's going on with the TapScript while you're writing it. Has a bunch of other tools that you can use while you're developing. And that's something that I'm actually been diving into to experiment with. It's called BitScript.
Oh,
it's
send the link.
Brand new. I think I'm one of the first to use it. So.
I'm about to be number 2, baby.
There we go.
Danny?
There's an open source free textbook. It's called Mastering Bitcoin. It's how I learned the basics, and that's a great technical introduction. Even if you're not technical, it's a good way to learn how this stuff works.
That's a big part of it too. It's like to understand what you're participating in, because this isn't like the bank. There's not security guards. There's no takesies, backsies. So it's like, this is what you get with self-custody. Like, it's up to you to protect your Bitcoin, and know what you're participating in. So I think that's a great resource for sure.
Yeah, I'd definitely say like if you're looking to start building, definitely mess around with some of the great infrastructure providers that are in the space. You've got Hero has a really good ordinal specific API. Definitely recommend checking that out. And then fire up Xverse and get familiar with their APIs. Big shout out to the Xverse team. They've got a lot going on there and make it really easy to maybe make your first like Bitcoin Ordinals Web3 experience?
Yeah, it's so amazing what simply putting data in an op return has done for Bitcoin. If we really boil this down, there was a lot of stagnant activity on Bitcoin. Now we have builders from all ecosystems are coming and bringing. This is going to be a hot take, but like it makes Ethereum look like testnet, where like all the KPIs and the major tooling is now being brought over in exactly the same fashion. We're seeing sat names, ENS. We're seeing swaps. We're seeing lending tools. We're going to see a magnitude of things. We saw, obviously NFT collections. But the alpha that I'm sure there's still some more things, but that's all I followed. What happened on Ethereum, it's going to happen on Bitcoin. And now they're almost caught up with each other, which is crazy. It just sped run it. But where do you guys see Bitcoin in 5 years? And Ordinals, 5 years. Not that happening. Let's do 5 and then 10. Like, dude, I don't know.
I think it's just going to be bigger and use
More sats? Blockchain's going to be bigger?
I think it's going to be more widely held.
Yes.
I don't know if it'll be really used. I think a lot of people want it to be used as a payment mechanism, but I think that's going to happen at the end. And in the meantime, you'll have the anchor for just storing value, and then lots of experiments like inscriptions and ordinals and stuff. And
someone mentioned something interesting is like Bitcoin's going to be used for like institutional capital, big capital being moved, not so much like the Bitcoin Lightning and all of this stuff. But there's 1,000,001 ways this rolls out. But what's your 5-year bullish, bearish?
In 5 years, I see houses being collateralized for loans on Liquidium.
You're going to inscribe a house?
I mean, at the end of the day, all that is a social layer. So just if we agree the deed is this ordinal, the deed is this ordinal.
All right. How about you?
Yeah, so I think definitely in 5 years we'll have seen a $1 million plus sale for an ordinal. I think that's coming, and yeah, I do see like the Grails really appreciating and it becoming ordinal specifically becoming a place for like high value assets.
Totally agree. Well, thanks everyone that took the time to check us out. DeFi is clearly early. We don't have that many people here, so the alpha, you got it here first. But yeah, thank you guys. Shout out to the whole team.